What is up, people? Miles here with Keep the Change, and today we are talking about GameStop stock as it's gone crazy over the past 3 months. So is this stock making a comeback, or is it basically a dumpster fire that we should throw away? Let's find out. Now, everyone knows GameStop as the place you would go to as a kid to trade in your games and your console and even your soul, and they would say, hey kid, here's 2 pennies, go buy something nice. But that's not all they're known for. Believe it or not, they're also a stock. And this stock has been absolutely hammered the past 5 years, and not like drunk in terms of like getting crushed and destroyed, because they went from $40 a share to $11 a share here today. Now, this is mainly to the fact that physical games are kind of falling out of style. I mean, basically, if I'm gonna buy a game on Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, I'm gonna buy it digitally. Why would I go to a GameStop? Which has made GameStop have to close their stores, not really sell as much, not be as profitable, and then the pandemic hit, and that just kind of sent them into a death spiral. So back in March and April, you could get this for $3 a share. Now, since then, it's actually quadrupled, so it's almost $12, around $11 here today. And the market cap on this company is around 700 million, and they're not profitable, so they don't have a PE right now. They have a forward PE of 36 and a price to sales ratio of 0.14, which is like incredibly low. And there's a couple reasons that GameStop stock has actually gone up to the moon with Elon recently. The biggest reason being that new consoles are coming out very soon. I mean, pretty much they're out right now. Got the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 5, and these are very big consoles. I mean, if you think about it, we haven't had new consoles since 2013. So obviously there's going to be a whole spotlight on gaming right now, and there's going to be a new super cycle that hopefully should bring GameStop in some more revenue. So they sell video games and accessories, and they usually do this in store, but obviously the pandemic hit, so kind of a different situation right now. They're actually closing a bunch of stores due to the pandemic, and they were also planning on doing that before. So now there's a huge focus on their online business, and actually looking at the latest quarter, their online revenue grew over 800%. But some people would argue that this is too little too late, and I would probably be in that camp as well. I mean, if you look at their revenue for the past 5 years, their revenue has been stagnant or decreasing, and they've also become unprofitable, which I'm not a fan of that at all. The more money that a company starts losing, the more people think that the company's going to go bankrupt as the balance sheet starts weakening and they start taking on debt. However, I will say in GameStop's defense that they're actually doing a pretty good job at getting the balance sheet sort of in order. I mean, if you look at it, they're reducing their debt, they reduced their inventory levels by 50%, and at the beginning of August 2020, they had over 700 million in cash. Now, if you look at the fact that their market cap is pretty much 700 million, they have as much in cash as their entire company is valued. And if you look at their liabilities year over year, this company may not be struggling as much as you think they are, because they actually decreased their liabilities from 2.1 billion to 2 billion. So year over year, their liabilities went down and their cash went up, which is a big argument that people make for the stock, the fact that the cash flow is so good. And taking a look at their second quarter of 2020, which was basically April, June, and July, pretty much all the months that the pandemic hit the most, you actually see that the revenue was down 26%, and they made over 900 million for the quarter, which if you look at it, down 26% is pretty bad, okay? We're not going to lie to ourselves. That's not a great number. However, you have to consider the fact that this is during the pandemic. I would expect their sales to go down a lot more. They weren't profitable this quarter. They had a net loss of over $100 million. However, this time last year, without the pandemic, they actually lost over 400 million. So those losses are getting more narrow, which is kind of interesting. Obviously, they're benefiting a lot from the fact that they're going online. That means less cost for them. And then they're also closing stores, which if you think about it, has a lot of overhead, mainly employees. You're paying a bunch of employees a bunch of money, and that takes a lot of your cash. Now, taking a deeper look into what their revenue actually comes from, you can see that hardware is pretty much their biggest source of revenue, with over 47% of the revenue in quarter 2 being generated from that. That's anything from consoles to headsets to controllers, you name it. And they actually mentioned how the Nintendo Switch was one of their best-selling items, which makes sense to me, I guess. Everyone's locked down, they want to get the Switch. It's out of stock everywhere else, you're going to go to GameStop. And 41% of their revenue came from video game sales, or software as they like to call it, but it's really just video game sales. And then 10% came from collectibles, which is their merchandise or shirts or Funkos, as we mentioned earlier. Now, hardware sales in the next couple quarters should actually be picking up a lot, considering the fact that GameStop is selling the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. So that should bring them a massive amount of revenue. And every time that a new console has come out, the stock has done really well. Also, the business side has done really well. But with more gamers than ever pretty much buying games digitally, that does leave a problem for the rest of their business, the video game side. You know, how are they going to sell physical games? And that's actually very interesting because Microsoft recently made a deal with GameStop. Basically, what this deal is every time that somebody buys an Xbox from GameStop and they purchase a digital game on that Xbox, GameStop actually gets a cut of the profit. So if I go to GameStop and then I come home, set up my brand new shiny Xbox Series X, and then purchase Call of Duty 20,000 digitally, GameStop would actually make money from that purchase, even though they're not really selling you anything. And even though the percentage is small, anywhere from 1 to 10% that analysts are estimating for them, this could still be something amazing for GameStop because that's all profit. They don't have to actually put any cost towards that themselves. So this could make their profits grow massively without much work on their end, which is a really good deal in my opinion. That's awesome. And honestly, I think this is the best thing that GameStop has going for it. I think in 10 years, I don't think there's going to be physical games anymore, okay? It's kind of like the new Blockbuster. But if GameStop can position themselves as an e-commerce platform more than a retail store and also get a cut of the digital games, then I think they have a bright future ahead of them. So with that being said, there is some potential here. However, I think the risk kind of outweighs it. Now, if you want to play this as your spec stock in your portfolio, go right ahead. This has the potential to double or triple in the future. But if things don't really go the way that people want them to, then GameStop could have a bleak future. Regardless of the fact that they are financially stable, they're not going to go bankrupt anytime soon. They could have revenues just stagnate and then eventually decrease for years, eventually leading to bankruptcy. Now, I don't think this would happen in a matter of 2 years, 3 years, even 5 years, but I think in a decade, GameStop, if they don't make the right moves, they're going to be completely irrelevant, let's be honest. And I'm really not sure of how much potential growth they have in their revenue over the coming years. Sure, they're going to get a boost from the slight hardware sale uptick in the coming months from the Xbox and the PlayStation, but still, how much is that going to save them really? And when next generation consoles after that come out and they don't have discs, I mean, what's GameStop going to do? Sure, they could have the whole Microsoft deal go on again, but how long would that last before they actually cut them out of the deal completely? So for me personally, I'm keeping my distance from this stock, okay? I'm shoving it against the wall and running as far as I can. But for you, your risk tolerance might be different. You might think that this stock actually has a potential, and I would definitely agree with you. This is the most I've been excited about this stock probably in years, and I've never cared about this stock ever. But I'm not a financial advisor, so make sure to do your own research. I highly encourage you to do so yourself. With all that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me, and I love you.